Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Keys to Avis Optimization, where today we have a customer joining us today. We have Kate from Avis Budget Group, which is very exciting. And we're going to be diving into the challenges that they had and especially how they solve it in terms of tags and cost categories. And then Paris is going to be doing a demo of cost categories. So if you haven't used those before, remember, we'll stick around to check that out. And at the very end, we're actually going to be talking about Connect, which is a bit of a segue, but these guys have a very cool story that we wanted to showcase and a new dashboard. But before we get into the main show, I want to know if my guests have had a frugal week or a splurgy week. So, Kate, how has your week been? One of the two.
I had a splurgy week last week.
Yeah?
Yeah, I like to order food out a lot, especially when I'm not feeling well. And I had a wedding I attended to. So
Oh, wow. Very fun. I'm like
it was
mixed
fun.
bag of splurgy stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. What was the food you ordered? That's the main question.
Chick-fil-A. I like Chick-fil-A, Chipotle, any of those fast food items.
Those are two great ones. My best friend loves Chick-fil-A, but we're, as people know, based in England, don't have it. And so whenever we go to America, she's like, we must go to Chick-fil-A. I'm like, okay.
So good.
Paris, what about you?
Yeah, so mine was a bit frugal because my wife was working for a board exam. She's a radiologist, so she was doing all that board thing. So we weren't gone anywhere. But apart from that, one funny story is like, right now the market went up. So I was trying to get the money out, and rather than withdraw, I clicked on deposit. That's good for my Robinhood account, but yeah, it was just a little bit overdraft and all thing. I was a little bit paranoid down there. But yeah, I was so yeah, I would say like splurgy on that sense, but yeah, it was overall frugal. So when you are at home and you're doing just random stuff, I think that's what's happened. So yeah,
I
it was
love
funny one.
it. Overbalance. I know what you mean. I've had a bit of a splurgy week. I'm actually competing this weekend in Glasgow. So I'm representing England in UK Strongest Woman. And so I've just had a massage earlier today. I'm flying out tomorrow, got a car, had to pay for hotel. So it's a bit of a splurgy couple of days for me. We have some comments in the chat. Yes, time for my favorite Twitch show from Chicago. Thank you for joining us. Love this. Hello, everyone. And hi, all. Amazing to see everybody returning. So let's get into it. So welcome, everyone, to the Keys to AWS Optimization, the show we share stories, concepts, and solutions to help you unlock your spend in AWS. My name is Steph Gooch. I'm a senior SA advocate here to help you with all of your FinOps questions and journeys. And I have my lovely guest with me today. Let's do some 1-minute origin stories. So, Praz, do you want to go first?
Yep. My name is Paras Pober. I am a senior technical account manager and also enterprise support lead based in Boston, Massachusetts. I've been with AWS for more than 3 years now. And Avis Budget Group is one of my designated customer. Yep.
Awesome. Kate?
Hi, I'm Kate. I'm from Freehold, New Jersey. I've been a FinOps analyst for 5 years now. My past 2 years have been with Avis Budget Group. A little bit about Avis. Avis Budget Group is a global car rental company with top brands like Avis, Budget, and Zipcar.
Awesome. I am excited to dive into your customer story and learn a little bit about how you guys had the challenges that many of us have had when it comes to spend is tagging. So stick around to join us that throughout the show, guys. Remember, you can ask us comments, you can ask us questions, put in comments. We're watching everything live. So any questions you want to ask about FinOps, drop those in the chat. Let's start off with learning a little bit about the scenario where this FinOps role came with. So, Kate, you mentioned the last 2 years have been with Avis Budget Group, but Perez, where did the role come from? Because you were involved in kind of suggesting they got one, right?
Correct. So when I joined this account, there was no FinOps position, right? So I think the whole idea for having a FinOps is like, of course, we do have platform people working with us, right? So they do have all the infra knowledge, but I think there is a bit, and that's how the role of FinOps is evolving so much in the past 3 years, right? Especially about the visibility. I think everybody focus on optimization, but nobody is. Of course, folks are doing it nowadays, but like creating that end-to-end visibility was very important in any organization. And I think for that, you need somebody who can incorporate that culture into all the like application team knows what they are doing, but somebody who can help them in creating like what would be like if you're spending so much money, what is the ROI through it, right? So creating that kind of metrics was very important. And of course, platform team does have a lot of other things they do, right? They also manage the whole platform as a service. to the application team. So that's where we saw there is a huge need, and that's where the position came up. And I did have a conversation with VP, and we work around that, and that's where the positions opened, and Kate joined. And I'll let Kate speak about like how that evolution went and how it was a success or a failure. I will let Kate talk about that.
Hopefully a success. Got to big her up. Yeah, Kate, how was it when you first started there?
Right. As Paris mentioned, when I joined Avis, there was no established FinOps culture or practice in place. So a big part of my role was to come in and establish that. One of the first things we did as a team, so I met with Paris, Frank, Mani, and Tony Rady on our cloud platform team internally. We took the cloud financial management capability assessment to score ourselves where we were in terms of a FinOps maturity. I believe there's a few different categories that we scored well in and some that needed improvement there.
Yeah. How did when you did that assessment, we actually did an episode, and I'll grab that to show you in a sec. But
awesome.
We did the assessment episode a few weeks ago, which was very silly. If people watched that, there were some wigs involved. I won't go into it now. But from who did you bring in to do the capability assessment? Was it a bunch of people from the business as well involved with that discussion?
So it was myself, FinOps lead, and then we had our director of cloud platforms, Tony, and then we had Paris on the AWS side, Frank, Mani, who is, I believe,
correct. I think I can add one thing. The whole idea was that to bring everybody together and do the assessment, so that we'll basically, because Kate was new, and this was a good starting point for her to know the actual, like, where are the key areas to focus on. So basically give her a good overview of the account. And the prior, and then we create a structured priority plan through it, based on the.
And Rich has kindly put the video link there, so go and check that out after. Yeah, that is such a good way to kind of get yourself started, and I love how involved you are as an account team to kind of bring this up and bring this role in. So it's to showcase that it is a useful thing and it's needed, kind of thing. So when you first started out, what were the goals that you had, Kate, for the organization?
Right. Definitely identify our spend. That was a big ask from senior leadership and from the other engineering leads. They wanted to understand what their cloud spend bill was. And I understand everyone has their priorities. So as a FinOps lead, you want to create that accountability and collaboration across the teams. So mine was just going into the bill, understand our different accounts, understand the different services that we were spending. We have two big categories. One is our core cloud, which is all of our business units spend, and we also have a global contact center running in AWS. So those are two different types of spend going on. So it's really getting up to speed, one on the contact center part, but also how many business units do we have? What are the top service spends, and how are we optimizing?
Brilliant. And there's so much involved in kind of understanding that scope. So when it came to diving into the spend, what kind of tools did you have at your disposal when you kicked off?
The native cloud tools in AWS. So we have Cost Explorer, my favorite, the cost and usage report, and you query SQL and Athena and pull back that data into Excel, the cost optimization hub, compute optimizer. I also love AWS budgets. So it helps me, alert the teams at a prompt timing. And I think there's the cost anomaly detection. So those native services are my bread and butter.
Love it. That's like, I think we should just cut that as a marketing proposal. It's just like, yes, all of these really cool services, the lovely account team, insights team who run all those tools will be happy to hear. Now, I remember we were chatting earlier, we were prepping for this, that you did have a kind of manual report that used to take you a long time to run. Is that right?
Yes. So I would write these SQL queries in Athena, pull back all this data. So it's definitely a rinse and repeat process. So the first time you're not really pulling back tags or anything, you're just pulling back service by account. This is where our spend is. And then, we have savings plans in place, reservations in place, and I was only pulling back net unblended costs. So it's not capturing all those different costs for me. So we purchase, savings plans and reserved instances at the billing account level. So if I'm filtering on specific accounts, though, that spend is not going to be showing. So it's definitely a rinse and repeat process for me there. And then I started to pull back tagging to see some of that.
Yeah. So before we dive into tagging, I want to jump in and do a quick poll from the audience. So people, if you've been here before, then you'll know how to do this. But whenever we do a poll, it's 1, you put the number to answer the question. So 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 for the third option. So who has been watching these kind of live streams before? Let us know in the chat. Have you guys seen one of these live before? Have you been able to tune in, or any Twitch show?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw it. I saw this question as well. I say like 3. I basically live here.
Yeah.
I've not tuned in live, but I definitely will be.
It's a weird time for people in the US. Anybody in the US, let me know in the chat where you're coming from, because I'm always grateful that people manage to make it over. So let's continue on. So tagging. Kate, you were just talking about how you started to use tagging. Tell me a bit more about the challenges that you had around that when you first started to do cost allocation.
Right. So as I said, we have a number of accounts. We have 5 shared accounts and then a number of other accounts dedicated to each business unit. So when senior leadership or a director comes to me and asks, where is our spend going for the month or for on the year, I would go into Cost Explorer and filter on a bunch of different tags. However, we have a lot of inconsistent tags across the board. I mean, I don't know how many tags we're using, but which is great. Don't get me wrong. It's great to have tagging in place, but we need a more consistent process. So we could have an application name tag. We can have a project name tag. To me, they might mean the same thing, but for different teams, it's one or the other. So one team could be using application, one team could be using project name. So when I'm filtering specifically on one, the other's not popping up. Mm-hmm. That's where the issue lies, because I'm not pulling back the full set of data or spend there.
Yeah. And perhaps when you work with Avis, what kind of, when you were looking at from a accounts point of view, as in like a account team point of view, did you also get any challenges with seeing this kind of data when you're trying to run reports with them?
Correct. I think major was like untagged resources. There were a lot of untagged resources that we want to cater, especially like when we did this assessment and we pulled the report from the curve. So I think that was a initial, like the starting point for us to figure out like all the resources. There are resources and these are all not being tagged at all, or maybe inconsistent as well. So we started with the untagged resources and then we go dive into understanding where the cost is coming. And Kate was really creating that kind of a collaborative environment internally. So that's why we needed Kate, because she can go internally and, talk and bring in all the application teams together to work in because, we have seen a lot of time with the customers, like they have their own silos, they're working on, and don't get me wrong, they have their own project deadlines and they're not even thinking about getting this whole accountability of spend, right? So I think that was a major challenge, and Kate did pretty awesome down there of breaking those silos, getting all the application team owner to get those tags in place and incorporating that back into the Terraform, which was another cool thing because they use infrastructure as a code for that. So,
and Kate, when you're doing the tagging, you're doing show back, not charge back, is that right?
Correct. Yeah, we show back. We don't charge back our business units right now.
Right now. I love that. That's such a common, like, if not coming. This is
coming.
You never know. Developers, watch out. You never know what's going to happen. With that in mind, because it's not actually charging back, how did you get the buy-in, not from any kind of like seniors or anything, but from the people who are hands on keyboard building this stuff? What were the conversations like that you had with those people?
For tagging specifically, or
yes,
for
tagging.
Perfect. Yeah. So a lot of teams would come to me and want their spend by month or how they're tracking on the year, because there's some conversations coming top down, like where's the spend going, or why are we running hot this month? So the teams will come to me and ask, and then I have those conversations like, listen, if these resources aren't tagged, I can't give you the proper amount that you're spending, and we need to work together on having those resources tagged. Or they're coming to me saying, can you filter on these different tag values that I'm not even looking at right now? So I'm like, okay, we need to have some sort of standard mechanism that we're all speaking the same language. These are the top 4 to 5 tags that we need to be utilizing.
Brilliant. And with those, did you notice, I wonder if this is a real thing, did you notice there were any specific types of resources that had less like number of people didn't do as well to tag? So for example, like, was it the S3 was always the least tagged thing, or did anything ever show up in your reports like that?
Actually, yes, S3 is one of the top ones. It's always compute and databases are perfect. Our Kubernetes environment has specific tagging mechanisms, but anything really outside of that, that's kind of falls short.
I'm glad I just guessed that. I was trying to think of like, what is the thing? It's because you make S3 buckets for everything for logging. And then when you do it in the console, console is everyone's like, oh yeah, I'll just make a bucket, because it tells you to make a bucket and it doesn't
Right.
tag anything. Every single time, tag your buckets, everybody. Go through and check your buckets. Call to action for the group. I've also got a quick question in the chat, which is, Steph, can I retroactively pull in tags to billing tools if needed? Yes, you can. I actually did it for the first time today, which was pulling in. It's very easy, going on your cost allocation tags. This is specifically if you tagged a resource and you maybe did some work, maybe it was deployed yesterday and you tagged it today, maybe you want to pull that tag in. Oh no, sorry, if you tagged it but you hadn't enabled it as a cost allocation tag, you can just quickly go in the console, tick it and do a backfill, which I'd never actually done.
For 12 months. I think you can do it for 12 months.
Is it that if you've tagged it now and it wasn't tagged before?
Yeah, you can pull it back for retroactively for till 12 months, so which is cool.
Yeah. That I think that's I one of those things that I knew it did it, and we had someone answer in the chat, so thank you. Feel free to answer other people's questions in the chat. Some people are really great at doing that, and they I've never actually done it myself, so it's quite exciting, which is funny. So how did you get around some of the tagging challenges that you had, Kate?
I got VP approval buy-in because VPs or the directors are asking me for some financial reporting, how we're trending on the month. And I told them, I was like, listen, when I pull this data from Athena, it's great data. It just takes me so long to go through like line by line. Sometimes it's 50,000 rows. Sometimes it's over 100,000 rows, depending on the time frame I'm pulling from and how granular I'm getting. Sometimes I can be pulling in resource ID as well to get to the nitty gritty details there. But I told them, I was like, if you want this report, I need some time to digest it, to analyze it, to then make it digestible for senior leaders to be able to understand and read it quickly. They don't need the specific details there. So I was like, I need a tagging mandate. I need your approval to get this going. Please provide your approval on it within minutes.
Love it. This is getting exec approval is one of the big things, because if you don't tell people it's their job, they won't do it. Like it's one of those mandates that we have to follow down. And then Perez, how did cost categories kind of come into the situation to kind of help what they're doing?
Correct. So I think the major challenge, like once we got the tagging enabled, right? So there is also a higher level, like what Kale can pull the tag, but how she can do this, let's say shared cost is one example I'm going to give. Like how, like you have a support charges, you have a networking charges, firewall, etc. How do you share that between business units? I mean, let's say you have a tag saying, okay, this is a shared services, right? You can put that as a tag, but how you can incorporate that into, splitting the cost between different cost centers. I think that is also like, of course, you need to have tagging in place, because cost category will not going to work. I'm going to do the demo as well, but cost category will not going to work just with the tag, right? I mean, you need to have the tagging and then leverage an upper level of cost category to group those taggings and then get the shared cost in. So I think that was a major reason of us getting into cost categories.
Yeah, I want to ask the audience, why isn't it letting me show my screen? There we go. Who has used cost categories? 1 for yes, 2 for no in the chat. What do you guys think? Who's going to do more? People who have used it or people who haven't used it?
I would say yes.
Hopefully yes.
But if no, that's also good. Like we are able to help them out today.
Yeah.
Just
okay.
That will be a call to action.
Yeah, a bit of a split, which is always interesting. Oh, I love that. Okay, well, some people have, some people haven't. With that, anything, Kate, do you want to discuss anything around how you came across cost categories or set them up?
Right. So as I mentioned before, it was a very manual task to align all of these resources or tags to a business unit. That's how I was building out my showback model. I wanted something that was quick, autonomous. We love AI or autonomous stuff here, but not saying cost categories is that, but I came across it one of the days I was working, and it's like, let me just check this out. What is a rule in cost category? What is this really helping me out with? And I started playing around. I put in a few tags. If this tag has X, Y, and Z, if it contains that, assign it to this business unit. Within 5 minutes, it pops up, and then boom, it's there. I'm like, oh, wow, this is pretty cool. We have whole business units. Why don't I continue trying that out? And, lo and behold, a day later, they're all popping up in Cost Explorer and then in the cost categories section. And then I also learned you can pull it from cost and usage report. So that's how I was pulling all of my Excel data to categorize all that spend manually. But now I have cost categories to do that. So it's one of those categories you can pull in, or I wouldn't say category, but one of those lines you can pull into the SQL. And then when you download the data, it's one of those columns populated with all the business units. So it cut my time down from about a day plus of analyzing all this data to now 30 minutes to an hour just cleaning it up and sending it off.
Wow, a day down to 30 minutes. That is a crazy good stat. That is, if that's not a pitch in itself to go check out cost categories. They didn't exist when I was a customer, I don't think. Or even if they did, I think it was like early days. So it's one of those things that I know how powerful they are from talking to people about it, but I didn't have to do it. And I'm always like, oh, you can do that. That's so cool. Before we jump into the demo, we've got a couple of questions in the chat. Oh, this is just a suggestion. If you want, when we're talking about getting people to do things in tagging, get them jackets. If anybody got me a jacket, I'd do anything. Like I have so many. Everyone knows how much swag I'd do anything for swag. So yeah, anyone wants to give me a jacket. Easily suggested. Another question. Do we have tag inheritance rules from OU linked accounts to resources in AWS? Currently, that does not exist that I know of. But what you can do is check out the optimization data collector, which is in the Cloud Intelligence dashboards. It's the data lake for that. And part of that process is downloading or exporting the organizational structure and the tags associated to linked accounts and OUs. And then what you can do is join that onto the end of your cost and use report, and then it will inherit any tags. So if you don't want to tag resources, which is an absolutely fine thing to not do, and you just want to tag your accounts or your OUs and inherit it, that is the way to do it. But especially for these guys with the shared accounts, it becomes a little bit more tricky. But if you have a big organization, that's what we used to do, definitely recommend checking that out. And what else have we got? What do you do with any remaining untagged resources? So Kate, do you have anything that's untagged that you don't, what do you do with it if there is anything?
We do. So there are some resources you can't tag, and that I understand. So I categorize that into like a core cloud shared service business unit per se. With the untagged ones, I would quickly run a report that brings back anything that's not tagged and send it off. If I know it's a specific team, like if it's sitting in a specific account, I go right to that person. Or, just recently we sent out that tagging mandate email. So I'm giving it about a week to then refresh, make sure people are up to speed. And if nothing's tagged, then that's something I can go back and say, reach out to the broader engineering teams and say, hey, these resources are still not tagged. I would also pull back the resource ID because that's very important. That will give you the very specifics of that resource. And then most teams have some sort of idea what their resources are. So I believe the platform teams can go and search for that resource ID and then find out what team requested that service.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, let's get into a demo. But before we're going to do that, Praz, you're going to take us through kind of the scenario with a little bit of a diagram to get us through. Let's bring that up for you. Okay, off you go.
Okay, am I good to start?
Yep.
Okay, so this is just an example. It's not Avis budget group. It's an any company. I've created a little bit diagram to understand like different use cases. You see there are two business unit, one shared services. They're for different teams, different project, right? So how we can leverage cost categories here, especially like how do I allocate cost by team? So that's what I'm going to do right now. So this is my AWS screen. I have demo gods with me, so that's good. Let's go to
May they be looking upon us.
Go to cost category. So I've already created cost category because it takes like at least 1 to 12 hours, depends on how much data you have. So I've already created and all applied with the interest of time. I'll quickly jump in and edit and show you how the categories have done. Like, let's see on this one, right? So how you're segregating team A and team B based on account. So you can pick the dimension, like manually define the group, put in account, and then you can put different accounts. Like this is like to the account development and production.
So these are just like I've hard coded. I've just manually putting in my accounts. Okay.
Exactly. Like when you go to the cost explorer, you see very similar dimensions, right? Charge type, region type. So that's again like the very simpler concept. Like you're using those internal resources that are being tagged. Like this one is account, and then you're putting an upper level layer of cost category into it. So cost category comes as a very upper layer, if you understand from the resource perspective. And the other one, of course, the similar thing, like putting this and grouping it as team A and team B.
Okay.
And then
so it's just hard coded, simple example.
Exactly, yeah. And right now I'm not splitting charge on this, so I'll just say next. So in your screen, you will say save incomplete, or in my it's saying save changes. Nothing has been changed, so I'll keep it the same. Let's move
Okay.
to another one. Now on the project basis, like now we have EC2 instances that are being tagged, let's say with project A and project B. So project A and project B are more cost allocation tag here. So let's move to that example. On the project side, I'll do edit cost category. Okay, yeah. So if you see here, again, like, doing it one time, it's a one-time process. Put up cost allocation tag and say the value should be project A. So all the resources that are being tagged with project A will be grouped as the cost category as project A. And similar to the project B. Again, I'm not splitting charges here, so I'll keep this very simple and straightforward. Now, the interesting part and the one which I want to talk about is shared services, and that's where cost category is very helpful. Is how you can split the cost. That now you have business unit one, now you have business unit one, and you have shared services accounts. How you can split the cost from your OU, from like all the shared services spend into business unit one and business unit two. So let's dive into that. So on the cost center, what I did is we've created another similar rule leveraging the cost allocation tag, like all the resources that have been tagged with business unit one, put this as cost center one. And the second one is same for the business unit two, and name it as cost center two. I've done one more, like all the accounts, all the resources that has shared services being incorporated, like all the resources that are being tagged as shared services, put it as a shared services BU.
Okay, so we've got, wait, before we move on, so we have cost center one, and that's a tag from the cost center one, and then cost center two. Okay, and these could be any resources in any of the accounts.
Absolutely, yeah. It's on the organization level. So this is like, you can think it as a peer account.
Okay, and then the last one, we're bringing in anything else that could be tagged. So these could be, it could be one account, it could be tons of accounts. It's just things that we've allocated as that shared thing. We're bringing all this cost together.
Exactly. That's right now. I don't have any shared service, so you won't see the cost. But yeah, that's the gist of it. And when you do next, now this is an interesting part: how you can split those charges. So what you can do is you can put a source value, which we have categorized as shared services BU, and put a target values of the all two cost categories that we just created: cost center one and cost center two. Now there are three methods to do it. One is proportional. Proportional means like it based on the cost, right? How much cost you're getting in cost center one. Let's say you have a support charges and you want to split those charges proportionally to both the cost center. So you can do proportional. If you want to do a fixed cost, let's say I have a networking cost and I want to just make sure like I want to split this evenly, then you can do even split. Or if you want to put a fixed cost, let's say 30% should goes to cost center one and 20% should go to cost center two, and rest I can just be doing in somewhere else, or cost center three. So you can leverage fixed as well. And that way you can get...
Yeah. No, finish, sorry. Go for it.
Yeah.
What I was going to say was, so with the proportional one, so a great example, which is those like shared spend. So would it be, if you had a proportional one, say you had a management account that you kind of bought all your savings plans in, or you had, or even if you had a separate account that was kind of like even a FinOps account or a security account, that's the kind of ones that you want to bring in and then say these ones want to distribute, and then it's proportional is it that if you have account A that's 20% of the spend and account B is 80% of the spend, they would do 20% of the shared services and 80% of the shared services, right?
Absolutely, exactly. And also like this one, I put a cost allocation tag, right? So you can also do it, like say I want to group shared services on the basis of account. So that's another thing. Like let's say you have one account, but you haven't tagged it, but it's a shared services account. So you can put a shared services based on account. And let's say you have like a couple accounts, and then all these two accounts, whatever the total spend is, that will be categorized as shared services. And then you can split it between business unit one and business unit two. So
can you do multiple dimensions?
I'm sorry, go again.
Can you do multiple dimensions? So if you've got the shared services one as the tag, can you do another one as well?
Yes.
Yeah, add a condition. Oh wait, add a.
You can add, like you can put a dimension. You mean like another one?
Additional one. Yeah. Additional
No, I think there is. I think you can add value and add a condition for another dimension.
As you do another one, so that would bring in.
Correct.
So if you had tagged, but you're like, this account, it's the crazy account that people just dump stuff in and no one tracks it. We're going to put that as a shared spend account, a sandbox account, which no one tags. Okay, brilliant.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yep, I think that's pretty much it.
Okay, brilliant. So we also had a quick question in the chat I'll bring up. How do we track the actual usage for shared services as it's just an approximate portion? So I believe they're kind of wondering how they can, how do we track the actual usage for shared services? Is that in terms of, person in the chat, let me know, give me some more details. Do you want your cost in there, or the proportion is based on the things we were just sharing? But anyways, let's continue. So Kate, when it came to the cost allocation ones, what are the kind of things that you set up for? Was it so the business units and then the shared split? Is that how you've done it?
Yep. So I did, my main priority was the business unit. So it was a quick and easy way to see where the businesses were trending. So I did all the tags that we have: project name, application name, anything in Kubernetes that has a specific tag that we use, and then any namespace. So that's related to Kubernetes. So anything that I knew was tagged to a specific business unit, I would then categorize it as that one. At the very end, we have support charges. So I added that in as a shared cost that Paris just walked through proportionately. So like you mentioned, the 20/80, if we have only 2 business units, one was getting 20% of the support charge, and then the other was getting 80%.
Perfect. Nice. I love how this has just kind of solved a big challenge for you, which is very cool.
Yeah, one thing to incorporate, like tagging is still very important here, right? If you see the demo, like even in the shared services, you should tag those as a shared services so that you can incorporate those. Like you might have an account which might have other services which might be tagged to shared services as well as different projects. So if you are tagging it properly, then you can club this up and then split it properly. So tagging is again a base level that's really needed for this visibility.
Yeah. Chat, let us know. Do you tag your resources or your accounts, or not at all? No one tags. I'm intrigued to know the split between the different ones that people have, because a lot of customers, I've spoken to customers before who were just like, we need to tag, and I'm like, why? And they're like, because we need to see our spend. I was like, what? Do you have shared accounts? Like, no, we don't have any shared accounts. So I'm like, you don't need to tag. Okay, mixed bag. No one's saying who tags, which is good, because that's the thing that we're concerned about. We want people to be tagging where necessary. So a nice little 1 and 2, someone said as well. So with that, when it comes to encouraging people to tag, Kate, I think you mentioned that you're pushing it with obviously the VP, which is great. How did you decide the tags that you're going to suggest? Was that like a group conversation of what ones you were going to lead with to get people to do that?
Part of it was my decision. Part of it was talking with the director of cloud platform, because if it's, someone came to me and wanted some sort of reporting, they're like, oh, just look at this project name tag, or someone else is saying, look at this application name tag. So a lot of it was self-discovery. If I'm going through Cost Explorer, I was filtering on all the tags. Like, okay, this resource doesn't have a tag. Which tag is it actually populated with? And then that's how I was kind of reverse engineering back to who really is the owner of this resource. So I decided, let's do project name and application name, but it still left a big portion of untagged spend. So then I was kind of like, okay, what's the next level here? So we brought back in namespace, and that identified our Kubernetes spend. And then I brought back name tag, which was more detailed. And I love that one because it'll give you the service name, the environment that it's in, and then also a quick snippet of the business unit or namespace in our case. So very helpful with those 4 tags.
Cool. And nice and simple as well. I feel like 5 is the max that you should mandate. And people sometimes are like, it's too many or too little. 5 little tags is not that much effort, especially if you tag efficiently. But also, it doesn't mean you can't keep all your other tags. Like if you have your own reporting, you can have, I don't know what the max is. I'm sure someone will know, but there is no max. Sorry, there is a max, but I don't know what it is. But for people who are using it, you probably are not going to hit the max amount of tags that you are going to have on a resource. So if you need to have your own tags because of your application, or things like, think about Instance Scheduler, there's a certain tag you need for that, but that's not going to be on S3, although you should tag S3, don't forget, guys. but you need to be able to tag with whatever's relevant. Always might be security updates or patching dates or last used information. All that kind of stuff is still super relevant, but it's more specific to per use case. And Perez, when you're working with maybe other customers as well, what kind of tags have you seen them utilize to help showcase their spend?
Yeah, I think usually business unit, department, and then of course their applications and project. I've seen these are very normal tags that I've seen with customers using it for different resource. Yeah, and mostly I do look at also untagged resources, and that's where we push those. Like you should have these mandates, as Kate was mentioning, or maybe think about like creating those SCP policies, like the service control policies, just to say like on the governance side of things that if you don't have these 4 tags, don't deploy the resources. I think I've seen customer incorporating that as well in a lot of cases.
Kate, are you guys looking into that or avoiding
Yes,
it?
that's on our roadmap. I would love that. You can't spin up a resource unless these tags are populated. But right now it's more of trying to figure out our whole tagging strategy, which we've done a great job. Don't get me wrong.
SCPs and tag policies are so funny because I feel like everyone in FinOps is like, yes, but then they're like, oh, but it will interrupt your deployment, and they're like, oh no, it's the biggest challenge where it's like, oh, but that's what you want. But the thing is, and I found this out recently because back again when I was a customer, when we used service control policies, SCPs or tag policies, it would stop you deploying and then be really unhelpful with the message. But I think in the last year or so, the message has become the error message has become a lot clearer of what's going on. And so the biggest advice when you're doing those rules is tell people you're going to do them. If you're going to have a hard rule, set it out, but you need to tell people because they're going to get annoyed at you. And if you have if you have the rules, have a way of telling people what the rules are. So that should be very well, like it should be posted everywhere. There should be easy documentation to find. It should be very, very simple so that people could avoid that, because you don't want to get people in trouble for not being able to deploy something in production. But if you do need to cost allocate, it kind of balances back and forth. And Perez, when it comes to tagging, infrastructure as code is a great way of kind of automating some of it. How do you suggest customers work with that when it comes to tagging?
Correct. I think infrastructure code is very important. Like mostly a lot of customer leverage Terraforms and other infrastructure code. And when you do a manual tag, like if you have an infrastructure code, it will override it. So if let's say you go to the console and you put a tag and you're using an infrastructure code, it will override it once you do a patching or any update exercise, right? So you need to be very careful. You incorporate those tags into those modules. And that's what we recommend to the customer. If you're using an infrastructure code, please go there and incorporate that into the running modules now. So
make it easy for people, right? Make it so that it's not them having to configure anything weird, especially with those 4 or 5 ones you got default. Have them in as variables that they can just reuse consistently. And if there's like one thing I always just people in, if you mark it as like non-production, then have it that you have the other things deployed, like instant schedule and stuff like that, and have those tags automatically in there. If you just tag them for everybody, it just makes everyone's lives easier. But the only challenge I would say is if you have modules, don't default those business units and stuff like that. You don't want people to inherit the wrong things. They let people, especially people who are doing chargeback, then I've heard of people being like, let's tag it with another account and then never notice. That spend will go there.
That would be funny.
We got some comments in the chat, which is I had 3-4 days of meetings talking about tagging and naming things. Good Lord. I know. The amount of time we spent talking about tagging, you think we'd all have it fixed by now. I'm surely AI can fix this at some point for us.
Oh yeah.
Figure it out. Whenever the AI lords are going to come and do that. And then a question which is, so only tag in shared accounts. So when I was talking earlier about the shared account versus linked account, it depends on your organization structure. So if you have a AWS account set up where everything in an account is owned by a department, a cost center, a BU, whatever it is, then there's no need to go in and tag every single resource because you can just say the whole account is consumed by that. But if you have shared accounts and you maybe need to allocate that spend individually. So for example, if you have everybody has access to one account and you have different applications, dev prost, or different apps like app 1, app 2, then you need to tag those things out, right? Do you guys agree?
Yeah, I'll even add one of my first job, we had X number of business units and each business unit had dedicated accounts. And within those accounts, they had different applications running. So it'd be we were just entering the tagging phase there. And at Avis now, we have the 5 shared accounts. So multiple business units and multiple applications. So it's imperative for us to have that tagging strategy. So I think it's good practice either way, but agreed, if you have a business unit owning a specific account or a number of accounts, for the most part, where that spend's going.
Oh, you are on mute, Steph.
Thank you very much. Haven't done that in a while because I'm coughing. If you haven't noticed, I keep going on mute because I'm ill. So a question, which is, what are the next FinOps areas you'll be focusing on, Kate, in your world of work?
Great question. After tagging set up, I think that's one of the foundations of FinOps. It would be next meeting with teams on a monthly or weekly cadence and understanding the spend and really getting them on board with some of the recommendations. Like we've been doing a lot of that right now, but to have that reoccurring cadence, I think is very important. So we're all on the same page and continuing that practice. And then I believe further on in the show today, we're going to touch on some Amazon Connect demos. We also have that big business unit of global contact center. So we just did a huge tagging effort for that last year as well. So they're simultaneously going on at the same time, but we want to build out that Connect dashboard and have the teams be more self-serving with that kind of spend.
Yeah, that is a great segue on to our next bit. But before we do that, Kate, I just want you've been doing FinOps, you said, for 5 years, right? Have you seen anything dramatically change when looking at the industry, like to your previous role to the one you have now? Has anything changed a lot?
I actually love having this conversation. FinOps is different for every company. You would think it's similar practices amongst the companies, but there's different priorities. As I mentioned, my first company was very established and a mature practice. We had more people on the team and we were having like monthly meetings with the teams, like full presentations. The teams are engaged and they're acting on these recommendations. Then we revisit the next month and see the progress. And then the next role, was a different cloud provider, a completely different set of FinOps standards. And then now at this current role, it was really building up that showback model that I didn't have at the first, the first company, we didn't have that, or we had that. I don't have it here. So it's really building out that practice. And it's cool to see each different company has their own FinOps, I guess, standard.
Yeah, everyone has different goals. There's so many different things. Like I always talk about people like, what's the first thing you should do when you start a FinOps team? It's like, well, what's the business's first challenge? Is it my first challenge was cost allocation, but I was obsessed with learning about optimization as well because I found that really interesting, and so I did that as well. But some people it's dealing with PO, some people it's forecasting, some people it's savings. There's so many different disciplines around it, so it depends. And for us, when you're working with customers, have you seen any big trends happen in the last kind of couple of years when it comes to the world of FinOps?
Yeah, I think they are getting very particular, and of course, like everybody wants to save the cost, right? Everybody wants to optimize their spend. They don't want to pay, and I think one big thing that have been happening here is like they are starting to incorporate that culture of accountability. Like every application team, rather than just spinning up millions of resources, they are trying to be more thoughtful and understanding like how much ROIs, like business KPIs, incorporating all this workloads with mapping it with the business KPI. That's as I've seen is happening. And now the other big initiative is a focus, right? Now with like hybrid cloud platform, how you have a single data source or a data source that you can work with different cloud partners together. I think that's another big thing we are moving towards. And we as an AWS also support that initiative of leveraging the focus data sets. And we do offer that actually in our console too, right? The focus thing.
Yeah, definitely. So on to our last little section in the last 15 minutes, which is about Connect, which seems like a bit of a segue, but as Kate mentioned, this is a big thing that your company has been doing. But Praz, do you want to set the scene a little bit on the Connect stuff?
Correct. So Connect is basically our contact center as a service. It's mostly, Avis leverage that service for us. It's a SaaS offering that we do for the customers. Like they can have an instance, and then it's a multi-regional, and then you can have like all your PPOs and all things being set up through that. We do have, of course, telecom partners that we work with, so we manage all your numbers. But again, like Connect is a very big piece of at the time of like when you want to optimize, and then we just introduced in 2023 our granular tagging, and that's what Kate was referring, right? When the granular tagging came, they want to incorporate those tagging into the number flows in the queues in the departments where the spend is going. Let's say this is going into XYZ service, other services, so they can tag those department wise as well for different calls. So if a call is happening to, let's say, rental department, it goes to the rental queue. If it's going to, let's say, HR department, it goes to HR queue. I'm just giving some random examples.
Yeah.
But yeah, you understand, right? What the gist of it. So yeah, this was very important step for Avis Budget Group, just not to see a single line item for the cost in the Cost Explorer. They want to see like what is nitty gritty of where the cost is going towards chat, voice, or is it like just a telecom cost to the carriers, right? So yeah.
Yeah. And you released a blog recently about a similar kind of topic, right?
Yeah, it was a little on the AI side, but yeah, we did it with the price line. It
We
was
love AI. Everybody loves AI because
it was more
Amazon
on
loves it.
it was more on the contact lens side, but it little segue of this on the optimization, but I can tell you a little bit story. It was more on the, like, agents usually get summary, like basically once agent done with the call, they have to write a whole summary, right? Like how the call, like the after call work. So with our AI, the contact lens feature, you can get a post-call summarization or real-time summarization of that call. So agent has to do less work. So basically all your after-call work have been reduced. So as you can see, the agent productivity will reduce, and it's a big optimization for the customer. Again, like coming back to that ROI. Like if you invest on contact lens, how much savings you are having to increase the agent productivity so that they can take many calls. More calls down there, right? So if you're reducing or if you're increasing the productivity of agent, that's a win-win for both of us, and that's what that story is.
Yeah, optimizing so that it's not always about dollar saving, like deleting something. It could be about time and stuff like that. Right. So speaking of Connect, there is a lovely dashboard that is in the Kudos dashboards that you wanted to give us a demo of, right?
Absolutely.
All right, let's bring that up if we get ready. And Kylie Richardson, if I share your screen. Oh, there we go.
Awesome.
Go for it.
Okay, so yeah, this one is very similar. If you've used Cloud Intelligence Dashboard and Kudos Dashboard, the framework is very similar. If you already have the Kerr data, it's basically pulling the data from that Kerr report in S3 and then create like the glue catalog, and it's creating a data sets specifically for Connect. So if you have Amazon Connect being used, you can definitely leverage this dashboard. Like if you look at the overview section, it's give you like 3 months of how the spend is going. Very high level overview for more of the executives, like which will be like inbound calls, which country is basically having most inbound call, which is the most popular one, and where the outbound call is going. Like outbound is like when the agent dialed the call, and inbound is the call is coming to your contact center.
I love how this is like European centered, this dashboard. It's probably, it's like Belgium's the one. For once, Europe is represented.
Yep. And then you can see the last 7 months data and then group those by the instance name. Like if you have multiple, let's say you have multiple instances, so you can group those into the instance name. This is just a random name. You can map this into going to the data set. It's a very simple thing. You just have to pick the instance name and make it more user friendly. So that's something you can do as a customization. And then group by region, usage type. And then, of course, the month-over-month trends. This is very high level. Let's go into the nitty-gritty of like the contact center. So this one is more from the service perspective, like on the service type. So we really put like all the services that you are using in that particular account where the Connect has been deployed. And also we all like purposely, a lot of customer gave us a feedback saying that we want to see, let's say Connect is a very big cost, but there are also sub services that you use. We want to see all those services as well. So this is more like what are the other sub services like DynamoDB, EC2, Glacier, Kinesis, Lex, Lambda function, all those other services that you use apart from Connect. Because once you see Connect is a very big cost, and but our underlying services are small one. But like when you look at just this, it will just give you a pager overview is Connect. Right, so they want to see like what are the other costs apart from Connect they want to look at in that account. So that give you a little overview on the service type excluding Amazon Connect services.
So if we were coming at this from a person who, like Kate's point of view, what would be a question that they would be able to answer with this dashboard, maybe on a more deeper level of the Connect costing?
Yes, so I'll go into that in a minute, but you can basically look at different segregated costs. Like I would say this one, like it will give you like a segue, like what is the end customer minute cost? What is the chat cost? What is the task cost? So that is so you can split those And rather than just looking at the one single item, let's say you are having 500K as a cost, you can see like how the split is going. And one thing I'm going to do right now is like how you can look at the most expensive calls. How do you can look at the calls that are taking so much time because they're costing you more, and you can go into the console and view like why agent took so much time. Is it needed? Or then it can be a training opportunities for the agents as well, right? So that is another way to look at, and I'll show that in a minute. Like for example, this one, it'll basically give you like customer minute cost, chat cost, task cost, and then agent evaluation. So there is a cost for the agent evaluation piece. Like let's say when your supervisor is evaluating an agent, we do have an AI for that, which is leveraging our contact lens. It's a $12 per evaluation that you do for agent in a month. So that's the cost you can see here. I don't have anything here, so that's why it's showing me zero. I think there is a free tier limits as well. That's why you see $0 and $0 because we have 90 end customer per minute is free tier for everyone, and 500 in chat messages per month, and 100 tasks. These are all the free tier limits. So if you are in a free tier limit, like I was in a free tier limit, so my cost is zero.
Fair enough.
Yep. On the other side, so there is also a carrier involved, right? So we providing a SaaS offering that you have an instance deployed, so and all the resources, but there is a telecom cost to it, like the numbers that you're using, like toll frees, the IDs, the outbound minutes, inbound minutes. So this is cost goes through our partner carriers, and that's where it gives you an overview of that telecommunication cost. Like what is the inbound minutes, outbound minutes cost, what is the toll-free inbound minutes cost, the ID, and there is a number cost as well, keeping the number of the ID and the toll-free numbers.
Interesting.
Yep.
I'm learning so much about Connect. I've never really dived into the service.
Yeah, we can have another separate call, maybe a session just to go over Amazon Connect.
Yeah, for sure. And then you mentioned before as well, like the per call, which was interesting. Do you want to show us that?
Yes. So if you go to the call details, it basically show you like what is your top 50 most expensive calls, and then give you the caller ID as well. Like you can basically, if I want to see the most expensive call, I can click on it and it give me like where this is happening, the duration, and then it also gives you where that call have gone. It's a Belgium call. I don't want to blame Belgium here. But yeah, it's another Belgium call because that's where the most popular is. This is just a test data, by the way. But yeah, so it's give you like the segregation of where the cost has been going. And then you can also do through context search. Like you can also click on one of the contact IDs, like you want to search on, let's say whichever we've done, and then you can look at this and where this is happening and what is this call. So it's give you a very good overview from that perspective as well. Yeah, one more. Yep. Yeah, go ahead. Any more questions?
Is there anything you need to do additionally to pull in this data? So you obviously have the cost and usage data. How do you bring in the Connect data to fuel this dashboard?
I think it'll be very similar to how you deploy Kudos. I think there are a couple of data sets that needs to be deployed for this. Yeah, there is an automated playbook, and I'll share the link as well. How you can basically, it's a very similar. You already have a cost and usage data. You just have to pull the particular data sets. And of course, you can do a customization on top of it. But the framework and the pipeline, the data lake pipeline that has already been built, if you're using a cloud intelligence dashboard, will remain the same. So nothing.
Oh, cool. So it's part of the ODC.
Yes, exactly.
That thing has grown like weeds since weeds, just to clarify. Since I made it, so that I didn't know that Connect was one of the modules in there. When I made it, it was like 10 different modules, and so now there's probably 20. I love that that's grown so much. Awesome. Anything else on here you want to show us?
No, I think that's pretty much it. It's definitely like I would say like we have lack of time, but you can please. This is a demo dashboard, so anybody can log in. So you can just use and play around and see if this is being useful, and give us feedback if you have any. I would love to hear feedbacks and see and do more improvements in there.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing that. Like I said, I've never really dived into Connect. Ironically, working with telco customers, no one has ever asked me to dive into Connect, which is funny. Praz, are there ways to optimize Connect? Would it just be optimizing the people behind the calls kind of thing?
So no, I think one more area where you can optimize it, looking at, of course, once is like the looking at the most expensive calls and just see like why this is being taken. If there is a lot of hold time, why not you do a callbacks? Like think about it, like when you're calling a customer service, they ask you like, do you want to do a callback? That would save money for your contact center, right? If you're doing more callbacks, you're not having to be on the hold, and then you don't get charged for the telecom.
Oh,
So
I
think
see what
about
you
like
mean.
getting the callbacks, using more chat. Chat is of course like less expensive than calls. So maybe and then incorporating AI like Amazon Q as well as other Lex bots to help customer going like during the self-service way rather than going through the agent, right? So basically delivering it through the self-service is another way to optimize it. The last part I would say is phone numbers. I've seen a lot of time customer do the porting. Let's say porting means like, they want to keep their own numbers, right? And then take that numbers into our Amazon Connect, right? So you like moving from another customer, let's say from another provider to our provider, and then you porting those numbers into us. So because they want to keep their numbers, they are like, let's say Avis has like all those numbers that has been there for ages. They want to keep it, which makes sense. So once they do the port, they're doing, let's say they were doing call forwarding in the first, and then they ported all the numbers. So there are some numbers that are sitting just idle and not being used. So you get charged for toll-free numbers and DID numbers that are all there and nothing is happening on those. So maybe look from this dashboard, you can look at all those numbers that are not being used, and then leverage that to clean up when give it back, because you're getting charged for those. So that's another way to
another way of looking at idle resources.
yeah, from the resources. Exactly, very similar to like how we look at EBS snapshot just being there from 2 years. Why we just go there and just clean it up.
Brilliant. Last couple minutes left, but Kate, are you guys looking to leverage this dashboard soon then?
Yes. And with all the tagging that we implemented for Connect and the telecom portion, would love to throw that in there eventually if it's enabled. And then also maybe create across categories for contact center, right? Because we have the North America region and EMEA region. So we were just conversating on that yesterday. That might be something really cool to build out.
Nice. And you can edit any of the Kudos dashboards to pull in cost categories as a filter. That's a super easy way of doing that. We had a quick question, which is where can I find the link for this dashboard? I'll just re-share that, but it is there's no login details. It's a demo dashboard that you can find in the Cloud Intelligence Dashboards framework. Brilliant. Thank you so much. I'm just going to do our Richard summary. So if you don't know, at the end of every episode, so any episode you watch, you can go to the end and you'll see a secret Richard summary. No, Richard is not AI. He's a real person. He sits in the background to help bring this up. So let me share this. Oh, no, that's not right. At this stage, I've done the classic thing of sharing the wrong thing.
That looked trippy.
Yeah, sorry about that. So in this last one, the FinOps summary, end-to-end visibility is key. You can save you can't save what you can't see. AWS native tooling is great from Caden. They're going to take that, Caden, and use it as marketing material. That's what's going to happen. Tagging and cost categories equals the Batman and Robin of visibility, and plan to leverage Connect CID for all call center analysis. Brilliant. Thank you so much. So on to our end. This is the end of the episode. Thank you so much. Are you guys going to FinOps X? I didn't ask.
I would love to. I have my college reunion actually that weekend before, so I'm trying to swing it, but we'll see. I would love to go.
Yeah, I might go. Yeah, I might go.
Yeah.
Okay,
do it.
Yeah, it will be fun. It's in San Diego, right? San Diego.
Yeah.
Are you going, Steph?
Yeah. I've got 2 sessions. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. I've got 2 sessions on. And that's what I brought up. If anyone's going, you can check out on the agenda of FinOps X. You can see on day 1, if you filter by the AWS room, I'm speaking about Gen AI, of course, about how to use the same skills that you guys already have, but put it towards Gen AI. And then on day 2, me and Justin, who's been on the show before, are doing a session on Kerr querying, advanced Kerr querying. I feel like I say advanced, but advanced for some people, maybe simple for some people, but we'll have some fun things, including maybe some AI cost allocation, which will be fun. That is it. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Thank you to my amazing guests for joining. We will be back next week doing, as John has described it, vibe coding with AI. So just join next week to see chaos happen, I think is the best advertisement I could do. But thank you all, and we will see you next time. Bye.